From dangerous bacteria to deceptive labeling, some stores have turned their poultry sections into profit centers with zero regard for what you're actually feeding your family. Today, we're exposing the 8 worst grocery stores for buying chicken in America, the ones hoping you won't look past the brand name, plus 2 that actually deserve your business. Let's start with number 8. Aldi built its reputation on one promise: low prices through no-frills efficiency. Americans loved it. You didn't need fancy displays or 1,000 brand choices. You needed affordable groceries that didn't compromise on basics. For years, that deal felt honest. But here's where Aldi's chicken tells a different story. Most of Aldi's fresh chicken comes through a supply chain designed around their private label model. That means you're not getting Tyson or Purdue with decades of processing standards. You're getting whatever supplier can hit Aldi's price point that quarter. The problem isn't just the source, it's the consistency. Consumer reports have noted that Aldi's chicken quality can vary wildly from region to region, store to store, even week to week. One batch might be fine, the next might be woody, waterlogged, or already starting to smell off, even though the sell-by date says it's fresh. And then there's the issue that keeps coming up in testing: higher rates of contamination. Independent lab analysis has found that budget store chicken, including Aldi's, shows elevated levels of bacteria like salmonella and campylobacter compared to premium retailers. We're not talking about a small difference. We're talking about enough of a gap that food safety experts suggest treating budget chicken like it's already contaminated and adjusting your kitchen practices accordingly. Here's what that means for you at home. You're not just buying cheaper chicken. You're buying chicken that requires more vigilance, more careful handling, separate cutting boards, hotter cooking temperatures, and the constant awareness that what you saved at the register might cost you in time, worry, or worse. It's like buying a discount tire. Sure, it's cheaper, but if you're checking the pressure twice as often and driving more cautiously because you're not sure it'll hold up, what exactly did you save? Aldi's chicken might fit a tight budget, but the trade-off isn't just about taste or texture. It's about the invisible costs of inconsistency and contamination risk that never show up on the receipt. And that's just number 8. It gets worse from here. Walmart is where America shops. It's convenient. It's everywhere. And for millions of families, it's the only realistic option within a reasonable drive. The prices look good on paper. The selection seems endless. But when it comes to chicken, Walmart has a problem that goes beyond just quality. It's about what they're not telling you. Walk into any Walmart and you'll see their great value chicken prominently displayed, often at prices that undercut nearly everyone else. But that rock-bottom pricing comes with trade-offs most shoppers never see. Much of Walmart's chicken is what's called enhanced, which is industry speak for injected with a solution of water, salt, and sodium phosphates. Sometimes up to 15% of the weight you're paying for isn't chicken at all. It's brine. You're essentially buying salt water at $4 a pound. Now, enhanced chicken isn't illegal. Plenty of stores do it, but Walmart's version has been associated with the particularly spongy, rubbery texture that home cooks consistently complain about. The chicken doesn't brown properly. It releases so much liquid in the pan that you can't get a decent sear. It's like trying to cook something that's already half-boiled before you even started. Then there's the sourcing issue. Walmart's supply chain is so massive and so focused on cost efficiency that tracing where your chicken actually came from is nearly impossible. One investigation found that Walmart chicken could pass through multiple processors, sometimes even crossing international borders for parts of the production before ending up in your local store's cooler. That complexity isn't just confusing. It creates more opportunities for contamination, mislabeling, and quality control failures. But here's the part that should really make you pause. Walmart has faced repeated recalls over the years for chicken products linked to listeria, salmonella, and even metal contamination. These aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of a system stretched so thin, chasing low prices, that safety becomes secondary. When you buy Walmart chicken, you're not just accepting lower quality. You're accepting a level of opacity about what you're actually getting that no shopper should have to tolerate. And we're only at number 7. Kroger is one of America's oldest grocery chains. For over a century, they built trust in communities from coast to coast. Your parents shopped there. Maybe your grandparents did too. The name meant reliability. But somewhere along the way, Kroger made decisions about their chicken that broke that trust in ways most loyal customers still haven't realized. The biggest issue is something called woody breast syndrome. It sounds technical, but you've probably experienced it without knowing what to call it. You bite into a chicken breast, and instead of tender meat, you get this hard, chewy texture, almost crunchy in spots. It doesn't matter how you cook it. Low and slow, high heat, marinated for hours, it still feels wrong. That's woody breast, and it's become so common in Kroger's chicken that consumer complaints have piled up for years. Woody breast happens when chickens are bred to grow so unnaturally fast that their muscle tissue can't keep up. The meat develops hard fibers and a texture that's closer to rubber than food. It's not a safety issue in the traditional sense. It won't make you sick, but it makes the chicken almost inedible. And more importantly, it's a direct result of prioritizing growth speed and profit over any consideration of quality or animal welfare. Here's where it gets more troubling. Kroger knows about this. Customers have been complaining for years. But instead of addressing the root cause, changing suppliers, or sourcing birds that grow at a normal pace, they've largely stayed the course. Why? Because slower growing chickens cost more. And Kroger has decided that hitting their margin targets matters more than delivering the product their reputation was built on. You're not just buying bad chicken at Kroger. You're buying from a company that's made a calculated choice to keep selling you something they know doesn't meet basic quality standards, because fixing it would cost them money. That's not an accident. That's policy. And when a trusted name treats customers like that, it's not a mistake. It's a betrayal. The pattern is starting to become clear, but we're not done yet. Albertsons owns a lot more than you might think. Safeway, Vons, Jewel Osco, Shaw's, Acme, all the same company, all operating under the same corporate strategy. And if you've shopped at any of these stores lately, you might have noticed something. The chicken section feels like it's designed to confuse you rather than inform you. Here's what we mean by that. Albertsons offers what looks like choice. You see different labels, different packaging, terms like natural and no antibiotics ever scattered across various products at various price points. It feels like you're making informed decisions, but dig a little deeper and you realize most of it comes from the same handful of suppliers, processed in the same plants, with marketing language doing most of the heavy lifting. Take their O Organics line. It sounds premium. It costs premium. But testing has shown that the quality difference between their organic chicken and their conventional store brand is marginal at best. You're paying sometimes double the price for a label that doesn't translate into noticeably better taste, texture, or even safety. The organic certification is real, sure, but it doesn't mean the birds lived better lives or that the meat you're getting is substantially different from what's sitting 3 feet away for half the cost. Then there's the freshness problem. Multiple consumer reports have flagged Albertsons' own stores for chicken that's sold right up to, or sometimes even past its prime. We're talking about meat that smells off, feels slimy, or shows discoloration, even though the date on the package says it should still be good. That's not just poor quality control. That's a sign that somewhere in their supply chain, time and temperature standards aren't being maintained the way they should be. What you're getting at Albertsons isn't necessarily dangerous, but it's emblematic of a bigger problem. A store that's more interested in the appearance of quality and variety than actually delivering it. You're paying for perception. And in a grocery store, perception doesn't feed your family. Reality does. And the reality gets harder to ignore from here. Target wasn't supposed to be on this list. When they launched their Good and Gather brand, it was marketed as a fresh start, better ingredients, better sourcing, the kind of quality you'd expect from a store that positions itself as a step above the competition. Americans wanted to believe it. Target had built goodwill in other departments. Why wouldn't their grocery section follow through? But here's the uncomfortable truth. Target's chicken has become a case study in aspirational branding that doesn't match reality. The Good and Gather chicken looks better than Walmart's. The packaging is cleaner, more modern, with language that suggests transparency and care. But when independent testing compared Target's chicken to other major retailers, the results were troubling. The bacterial contamination rates were comparable to budget chains, not premium ones. The no antibiotics ever claims, while technically accurate, didn't translate into better quality meat. And the price premium you're paying, sometimes 20 to 30% more than Kroger or Safeway, isn't buying you meaningfully safer or better chicken. What it's buying you is the Target experience, the aesthetic, the feeling that you're making a better choice because the store is nicer and the label is prettier. But strip away the branding, and you're looking at chicken that's sourced through many of the same mass production systems as everyone else, just with better marketing. There's also a consistency issue that's plagued Target since they expanded their fresh food sections. Because groceries aren't their core business, the training, oversight, and supply chain infrastructure just isn't as developed as dedicated grocery chains. That means chicken sitting in coolers that aren't monitored as carefully, staff who aren't as experienced in handling perishables, distribution systems that sometimes prioritize getting product to stores fast over getting it there fresh. You walk into Target thinking you're trading up, but what you're really doing is paying more for the same industrial chicken everyone else is selling, just wrapped in packaging that makes you feel better about it. And if you're going to pay premium prices, you deserve premium quality, not premium marketing. Now we're getting to the stores where the problems aren't just about quality anymore, they're about safety. Food Lion is a regional chain that's been serving communities across the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic for decades. For many families, especially in smaller towns and rural areas, it's not just convenient, it's the only grocery store for miles. And that captive customer base has allowed Food Lion to get away with chicken practices that would sink a store with more competition. The safety record tells the story. Over the past decade, Food Lion has been linked to multiple outbreaks of foodborne illness traced back to their poultry department. Salmonella, listeria, campylobacter, the kind of bacterial contamination that doesn't just ruin dinner, it sends people to the hospital. In some cases, the issues were tied to inadequate refrigeration, in others to poor handling practices by undertrained staff. But the common thread is a pattern of cutting corners on the basics that every grocery store should get right. Here's what makes it worse. After each incident, after each recall, Food Lion would issue the standard apology, promise to do better, and then within months, reports would surface of the same problems at different locations. It's not bad luck, it's institutional. When a company repeatedly fails at something as fundamental as keeping raw chicken cold and uncontaminated, it's not an accident. It's a choice about where to allocate resources and what risks they're willing to pass on to customers. The chicken itself is often bottom-tier quality. Thin, pale, with that telltale waterlogged texture that means it's been heavily enhanced with brine. The flavor is virtually non-existent. But the real concern isn't taste. It's whether the chicken you're buying today was stored properly yesterday, handled correctly this morning, and hasn't been sitting at unsafe temperatures while understaffed employees try to manage too many departments at once. If you live in a Food Lion town and don't have other options, you already know what we're talking about. You've learned to be extra cautious, to cook everything longer, to never trust the sell-by date. That shouldn't be normal, but for too many Americans, it is. And somehow, it's still not the worst on this list. Save-A-Lot operates on a model that seems straightforward. Strip everything down to basics, cut overhead to the bone, pass the savings to customers who need them most. No frills, no pretense. Just cheap food for people on tight budgets. And in theory, there's nothing wrong with that. Plenty of Americans need affordable options and shouldn't be shamed for shopping where their money goes furthest. But there's a difference between affordable and unacceptable. Save-A-Lot's chicken is sourced almost exclusively through the lowest cost suppliers in an industry already racing to the bottom. We're talking about processors that other budget chains won't even work with. The quality control is minimal. The traceability is nearly non-existent. When you pick up a package of Save-A-Lot chicken, you have virtually no way of knowing where that bird was raised, how it was processed, or how long it's been sitting in transit before it reached your store. Testing consistently shows that Save-A-Lot chicken has some of the highest bacterial contamination rates in the industry. Not just slightly higher, significantly higher. The kind of numbers that suggest systemic failures in handling, storage, and supplier oversight. You're not just taking a small risk when you buy chicken here. You're accepting that cross-contamination in your kitchen isn't a possibility, it's a given. Everything that chicken touches needs to be sanitized. Every surface, every utensil, every time. And then there's the human cost that most shoppers never see. The workers in Save-A-Lot's supply chain are often subjected to some of the worst conditions in the food industry. Low pay, dangerous working environments, minimal safety equipment. Facilities where the pressure to process birds faster means injuries are common, and corners get cut on sanitation because there's simply no time to do it right. When you buy the cheapest chicken available, someone is paying the real cost. It's just not you. Not directly, anyway. Save-A-Lot isn't serving communities, It's exploiting them. It's offering food that's cheap enough to fit desperate budgets while delivering quality so poor it borders on disrespect. People who can least afford to get sick are being sold the chicken most likely to make them sick. But even that pales next to what's coming at number 1. For decades, they were a dollar store. Cleaning supplies, canned goods, cheap toys. Then, somewhere along the way, they decided to expand into groceries, including refrigerated meat. And that expansion has become one of the most troubling developments in American food retail. Here's why. Dollar General at number 1 isn't just about bad chicken. It's about a fundamental betrayal of the communities they claim to serve. Dollar General targets food deserts, small towns and rural areas where real grocery stores have closed or never existed. Places where families have no choice but to shop at whatever's available within driving distance. And what Dollar General offers these communities isn't just low quality. It's a calculated exploitation of desperation. They're selling chicken to people who have nowhere else to go, and they're doing it with standards that would be unacceptable anywhere else. The refrigeration infrastructure in most Dollar General stores was never designed for fresh meat. These aren't grocery stores retrofitted for general merchandise. They're general merchandise stores trying to handle perishables. Temperature fluctuations are common. Monitoring is inconsistent. Staff training on food safety is minimal because these employees were hired to stock shelves and run registers, not manage a meat department. The result is chicken that's frequently stored improperly, handled carelessly, and sold under conditions that raise serious safety concerns. Multiple investigations have documented Dollar General stores selling chicken past expiration dates, chicken stored at unsafe temperatures, and chicken that showed visible signs of spoilage still sitting in coolers available for purchase. When confronted, the company's response has been to blame individual store managers or regional oversight. But when the same problems appear in stores across multiple states over multiple years, that's not a management problem. That's a business model problem. Dollar General found a way to profit from communities that have been abandoned by everyone else. They moved into towns where poverty left people vulnerable, and instead of serving those communities with dignity and quality, they offered them the cheapest, most poorly handled chicken in America and called it progress. That's not capitalism, that's predation, and that's why they're number 1. After everything we've just walked through, you might be wondering if there's anywhere left that actually treats chicken the way it should be treated. The answer is yes. Not many, but they exist. And while they might cost more up front, what you're getting is actual value, real quality, the kind of chicken your grandmother would recognize. Whole Foods gets dismissed as overpriced and elitist. And sure, you're going to pay more here than you would almost anywhere else. But when it comes to chicken, that price difference is buying you something real. Every piece of chicken at Whole Foods meets baseline standards that most grocery stores don't even attempt. No antibiotics ever. No added growth hormones. Birds that were given space to move and access to the outdoors. These aren't marketing claims. They're third-party verified requirements that suppliers have to meet or they don't get shelf space. Whole Foods also prioritizes slower growing breeds, which means the meat actually has texture and flavor, instead of that waterlogged, rubbery consistency you've come to expect everywhere else. The supply chain is transparent. You can trace most of their chicken back to specific farms and processing facilities. If there's a problem, it gets identified and addressed fast, because the system is designed for accountability, not plausible deniability. And in independent testing, Whole Foods chicken consistently shows lower bacterial contamination rates than conventional grocery stores. Not zero risk, nothing is zero risk, but significantly better than what we've been talking about. Is it expensive? Yes. A package of organic chicken breasts at Whole Foods might cost you $12 to $15, when you could get something similar looking at Walmart for $6. But here's what you're actually comparing. At Whole Foods, you're paying for 12 ounces of actual chicken that cooks properly, tastes like something, and was handled with care. At Walmart, you're paying for 9 ounces of chicken and 3 ounces of salt water, processed through a system designed to maximize speed over safety. Whole Foods is best for people who have the budget and want the peace of mind that what they're feeding their family is actually what they think it is. Costco doesn't get nearly enough credit for what they've quietly built in their meat departments. While other retailers were racing to cut costs, Costco made a different choice. They decided that quality could coexist with volume, and their chicken proves it. Costco's conventional chicken, sold under their Kirkland signature brand, is sourced from a controlled network of suppliers who meet strict standards for processing and handling. The birds aren't organic and they're not free range, but they're raised without unnecessary antibiotics and processed in facilities that Costco directly audits. The result is chicken that's consistent, fresh, and priced so competitively that it undercuts almost everyone, while still delivering better quality than stores charging the same or more. But here's what really sets Costco apart: their rotisserie chickens. Those $5 birds that sit under the heat lamps near the back of the store? Costco has been selling them at a loss for years, and they've resisted every pressure to cut quality or raise prices. They use their own chickens from their own processing plants, which means they control every step from farm to store. The chickens are seasoned simply, cooked properly, and sold at a price that makes fresh, ready-to-eat protein accessible to families who might otherwise default to fast food or processed alternatives. Costco isn't perfect. You need a membership. You have to buy in bulk, which doesn't work for everyone. But if you can make it work, you're getting chicken that respects both your budget and your standards. It's proof that doing things right doesn't have to mean pricing out working families. It just requires a company that's willing to prioritize customers over quarterly earnings reports. The chicken aisle shouldn't be this complicated. It shouldn't require research, skepticism, and constant vigilance just to buy something as basic as dinner. But until enough Americans start paying attention and demanding better, most stores will keep doing exactly what they've been doing: cutting corners, chasing margins, counting on your loyalty to names that stopped earning it years ago. You don't have to overhaul your entire life, but you can make one different choice next time you shop. Pick a store that actually values quality. Read the labels, ask questions, and if what you're buying doesn't meet basic standards of freshness, flavor, and safety, stop buying it. Your wallet is more powerful than you think. Every time you choose quality over convenience, transparency over marketing, you're telling these companies what you actually expect. And when enough people do that, they'll have no choice but to listen. You deserve better than watered-down, contaminated chicken sold by stores that see you as a profit margin instead of a person. Your family deserves better, and it's out there. You just have to know where to look.